The 2016 legislative session has begun, and while week one saw little work on actual bills, it did see an overabundance of speeches. Starting with Utah House Speaker Greg Hughes. His speech lasted what seemed like an eternity, while actually clocking in at a little more than an hour. The first half of the speech focused on what the legislature accomplished last year, like passing huge increases in education funding, statewide LGBT non-discrimination, and relocating the prison. Notably absent from the list, passing a Medicaid expansion alternative. Hughes then turned his focus to what he wants to accomplish this year. That list included providing money for water infrastructure, figuring out how the state can gain control of federal lands, and improving air quality. Again, notably absent from the list was passing a Medicaid expansion alternative. House Democrats, on the other hand, have long supported full Medicaid expansion. In response to the speech, House Minority Leader Brian King said he was disappointed. Later in the week, Governor Gary Herbert gave his annual State of the State address. As always, Herbert patted himself on the back for how good Utah's economy is doing. He also called for even more education funding, and unlike Speaker Hughes, did mention that he'd like to see the legislature do something, anything, about helping more people get health insurance. In response to the speech, House Minority Leader Brian King said he was disappointed. Not to be outdone, Utah Supreme Court Chief Justice Matthew Durant gave the most substantial address of the week with his annual State of the Judiciary speech. Durant applauded the legislature for passing justice reforms last year, but warned that if they didn't properly fund treatment programs, releasing nonviolent offenders would only lead to more crime. He also called for reforms to Utah's pretrial release practices and for improvements to Utah's indigent defense services, which in many rural counties are terrible. And that's this week's View from the Gallery. For KUER News, I'm Brian Grimmett.